Yeah, yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Yeah, I got nice up. Thank you. You know, we actually we recently set it up. We went and once we bought the podcast stuff, we basically were like, okay, well, we kind of need furniture because the old furniture we had when we used to do the Gyaff before. Yeah, it was two chairs, and then we wanted the option to have more people. At some point, I'm hoping to have like some sort of discussion forum. So, yeah. And then Vicky always wanted furniture in the office, so we could like, because sometimes in the middle of the day we just like nodding off, and it's just nice to go and take a break.
Our office had nothing to, and then I have to get a super.
Yeah, yeah. You just need the. Yeah.
Now
As
it's like
kids, as kids do.
it's just an anime spot now, like video game stuff and so all over it now.
Yeah. I don't know if you prefer to use headphones or not, but it's as long as the mic is fairly close.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you could put it on. If you don't like it, take it off. It's just a different experience.
Right.
Yeah.
No problem.
But yeah, I'm glad you guys made it, man. I was actually really excited to have you on for a while now, because we're like, oh, we need somebody to talk about like,
Right.
you know, what you do and stuff like that. Like we basically are just looking for different people in Guyanese society with like new ideas. You know, that's the whole point of this, to just discuss new ideas and
Right.
whatnot.
Good.
But yeah, so thank you for coming. Huh? Yeah. Stacey, could you just give me a mic test into your mic?
All right. Hello.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good.
Does that sound okay for you?
Sounds
You comfortable?
good. Perfect.
Okay. As long as you're comfortable, we're good to go.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming.
We're happy to come.
Yeah.
Happy to.
No. It's fine. It sounds good. As long as it sounds good. It like rule of thumb is maybe just hold it to like the side, so the camera still gets your face.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
That's
right,
perfect.
Right.
That's perfect.
Okay, good.
Is that
Yeah.
okay?
And you can turn the actual thing itself.
Yeah. You'll hear your levels too, so you can just
Yeah, it's fine.
yeah. So how are things going?
Good. Can't complain. Busy, but good.
Yeah. What do
Yeah.
you guys? I know it's kind of tourism month is done now, and you guys are probably gearing up for Christmas.
We're Christmas, December. We sort of that's our kids' time.
Oh, okay.
So we don't like plan anything for December. We try to keep December open
Yeah.
because it's kids. They want to do like a lot of stuff and get,
Yeah.
Christmas tree decorating and stuff. So December, we not a lot of work happening.
Yeah.
We try to do all of our stuff in November, October, November, so we're free for them in December.
You guys do so much traveling around, and you're so active, moving all over the place. Is that tough having kids? And I'm asking this as a advice point of view because I'm always thinking, I would love to have kids at some point, but I just feel like when that happens, it really changes the dynamic
Right.
of what you can and can't
Well,
do.
interestingly enough, I guess your mom can speak to that too, because even before I had kids, I knew her, right? She
Okay.
was like one of the first persons I met when I got into tourism.
Okay.
And I used to have the same question. So we make it work. The thing is, by the time our kids were 22 months old, we started to take them with us, right? And they did miss school sometimes, but their teacher understood and it actually worked out for them because the education that they got in the field actually supported what they were doing in school. So in the early days of schooling and stuff, their teachers actually were happy. It wasn't a problem, even if they missed a couple of days sometimes, because they were able to come back in class and teach their fellow students a bit more about the Guyana that they were able to see.
Yeah.
As they got older, that was less because obviously we couldn't take them out of school, right? The older you get, you have to keep your grades up and stuff. But when that happened, we started to schedule our time around their school schedule. So summer holidays, Easter holidays, that's when we do a lot of travel. Oh, even though on social media it seems like we're always out, that's not always the case.
Yeah.
Indeed, the busier we get, we do have to travel, but we take turns. So
Oh, okay.
sometimes Chris would be out, I'm in, or I'm out and he's in.
Gotcha.
So we make it work.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know you guys rotated. I always thought Chris is always the mastermind behind the camera.
Well,
and you're
he
the star of
is,
the show.
but we had to
Find that balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I started to create a lot of content too, but our content creation has changed over the years into a lot of storytelling too. So once, if I'm alone, then we sort of know how to make it work.
Sure.
Right? So, but you have to so don't be afraid of getting kids. That's the point. The point is
Moral of the story.
yes,
Don't be afraid. It's gonna be
because
okay.
I have seen the impact that travel has had on our kids,
Yeah.
and we chose to let them learn about Guyana first. So although we took them out to the country, it wasn't. It was very minimal.
Sure.
So we took them to all 10 regions within the first 6 years of their life.
Oh, no
Because,
way.
yes, we wanted them to see that the diversity, the beauty, the culture, the nature, and all of this. And I saw the impact that it had on them
Yeah.
and the appreciation that they have for our diversity, our indigenous culture, our flora, our fauna. They love nature. And it's not because Chris or I forced it on them. It's because they learn to love it on their own. And I think children are born with that God-given ability to be kind. And when they, from a young age being in nature, that has sustained. And they have learned, okay, we can appreciate and we can love without interfering.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yes. And I think it gave them a concept of their place in the universe and in nature. As a human, you're here. Yes, you have the ability to affect and impact nature. In as much as they're kids, they understood that from early. That,
Yeah.
I, as a human being, have the ability to impact nature in either a negative or a positive way. And although I see a bird in the corner, I see a anteater, and I want to go hug it because that's your natural instinct as a child, right? I know my place too. I
Yeah.
can appreciate from afar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly have some brave kids then, because I personally, now I'm okay, I'm more adventurous, but I feel like as a kid I was a bit hesitant, even though I was out like you. My mom also, I'm not, for lack of a better word, forced me to have these experiences. I remember one time we were on the Essequibo River, and I think we went to Fort Island or somewhere like that. Like, it was when I was like maybe 7 and she was like, yeah, come off the boat. Don't worry with your slippers, man. Come. And then she wearing her slippers. And then so I'm like walking and I got like pimples all in my foot. I come back crying. It was, horrible. But, is those experiences really, shape you and give you this appreciation. And I just love what you said, because I feel like in school, especially when we're taught in school about Guyana and stuff like that, it's all theoretical.
Correct.
And you never see this stuff, and it's, I just feel like a stock record, but Guyana is such a big place and blah, 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 and we don't get out to Georgetown. But really, there's so much like industry and environment and culture beyond what school kids are exposed to. So getting them out early, they really have a leg up. And it's so relevant now when we're pushing a national spirit, a national narrative that we want people to embrace, and that's how we get them to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% because for us, and we're actually working on a project right now that we're going to be launching in 2024. It's called the Kids Wildlife Club. And we're launching it in Georgetown specifically because when you're living out of Georgetown, especially in Rupununi and, up the Maikodi River and stuff, you have, and I grew up over the river on West Coast. So all my summer holidays were spent in Canal Number 1 with my grandparents who were farmers. So that helped to give me an appreciation of growing stuff and trees and all of these things that I took for granted. I didn't realize that farm to table and all of that would become a thing, because farm to table is how I grew up.
Yeah.
You grow it, you pick it, you cook it. That's it. So what we recognize is that if you're a country kid or you're from the Rupunoni and stuff, that's your life. It's not something you're taught. It's something you grew up with it. Whereas in Georgetown, it's a little different. Kids don't have the exposure as much as a rural kid or a Rupunoni kid to other things, farm to table and all of that. So we decided, okay, we're going to launch it in Georgetown first to give young people an opportunity to understand, take them into the field, take them bird watching and so forth, to understand the impact of nature and why it's important. So this was inspired by my own children and seeing from the age of 9, my daughter started to illustrate birds and stuff. She wanted us to give her a Birds of Guyana book by the age of 11,
Wow.
and we put her up on social media and people started to inbox us and say, how can our kids get involved? Is this something you guys are doing? How they can learn? So we realized, okay, the interest is there. So we need to collaborate with other people. And of course, we'll talk with you guys too, who can come and give talks to them and
Yeah.
inspire them and show them and teach them.
Yeah.
And you, as you correctly said, when you see it for yourself, it changes. I think it rewires your brain somehow, nature.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do for kids in 2024, to sort of use our platform and use our connections and network and all of that to have a positive impact on children. For example, a lot of the feedback we get on Visit Guyana is, okay, we love Guyana, it's beautiful, but clean up the city. You have to, the clean up the city shouldn't be a thing that, yes, we have to clean it up, but if young people understand why we shouldn't lit in the first place, then we won't have a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So all of that, and if they see, okay, if you cut a tree down, it's a habitat, for them to understand concepts like that in a real world way. As opposed if I teach you in school, but I show you the bird in the nest, then you will understand and appreciate. If we take our home away from you, that's what you're doing to the animal.
Yeah.
So things like that in 2024.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fantastic, and also it really is a testament to like the power of, the your brand and how it can reach, how it could shape a generation. Because I mean, it's one thing to do the tourism and which is fantastic, especially for diaspora and foreigners who don't know about Guyana, but just to be put on to the younger generation is so powerful, because you have the content to do it. And well, first of all, I just want to apologize for rushing straight into this. I don't like this to be an interview because it's not.
Right.
And I feel like if I do the whole welcome, Stacey, blah, 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 it's not conversation anymore.
I get it.
So I just want to apologize.
It's a
in case-
Gyaff.
Yeah, it's a Gyaff. So
Right.
I didn't want to come on too harsh. So anyway, but that being said though, strangely enough, I like doing my research, and I did, obviously I know you well enough from the industry, and you're a public figure for the most part, but I did do some reading up because I wanted to know more. I wanted to be prepared to talk to you, and so I have a lot of questions, but I saw there was an article on Caribbean Loop, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Look,
really good,
Right.
and it kind of like went into more detail on the things I already knew. But just to give some context to our conversation, like you're in a tourism space now, but you were originally studied IT,
Correct.
but then IT is part of tourism, and then that sort of took off, and
Yes.
then you're now like it's a mixture of both digital media and tourism. I guess I would just want to go back and ask you, what was the experience like? You started with the Guyana Tourism Authority.
Correct.
What was that experience like back then versus like where tourism has come now for you?
Oh, it's like chalk and cheese, right? To use that. It's totally different. When I started at the Guyana Tourism Authority, it was literally going into 3 years old. So it was a very young organization, sort of still understanding, even us, the staff, tourism was new the concept of tourism was new. And the program University of Guyana, I believe it was only 2 years old, tourism. So at the time, even the staff members were very, still, all of us were learning together. When I went there, I went as the IT admin, right? But because the staff was only a couple people, all of us were doing everything. So I was helping with marketing was helping with PD, product development, and all of these things. And the organization has grown tremendously, and the industry has grown tremendously. When we started, it was a group of people who had a vision for tourism, but largely related to conservation. Your mom, one of the pioneers of that, of course. And she was always in the GTA. She was always involved. She was always on the board. She was always, I remember when that's when we learned about like marine turtles, because that was her baby.
Yeah.
And none of us knew anything about tourism, to be frank with you. When I started at the GTA, I didn't know anything about tourism. I knew about website development, and that's what I went there to do. I went there to manage their website.
Right.
Fell in love with tourism immediately because I had to do research to figure out, okay, what's the purpose of this site exactly? And once you start to ask those questions, what is the purpose of having a website online? That's when everything falls into place. So you kind of, okay, the purpose of it is to attract visitors. Why are we attracting visitors? What are they coming here to do? Why would they be interested in Guyana?
So this was like a learn on the job for everybody.
For everybody. So
Yeah.
we had, because I was reliant on marketing to give me this, to answer these questions.
Yeah.
And even marketing, because at the time the budget was so small, marketing never went to Kaituur. So we were tasked with selling a country that we had never seen,
Oh no.
right? So that's when we were like, okay, what do we do? You have to go see it. That's the thing. And there wasn't photography, there wasn't videos, there was nothing to promote Guyana with on the website. So that was sort of where everything started, and that's where we were at the time. We literally had nothing. Content creation wasn't a thing. Influencer marketing didn't exist. Social media didn't exist.
Yeah.
We were using internet. It wasn't a DSL and stuff at the
Dial-up.
time. It was dial-up.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's how far back it
Traumatized
was.
just hearing that connection.
So now to see, okay, there's a product development department that goes out into the field. They do assessment, they do community outreach to see the marketing department. They're on social media, they're active. People have a clearer understanding of all of those things. New policies are being made in terms of the government side of things. Private sector people are refining their products more, tour operators and stuff, to appeal to different audiences. It's a complete 360
Yeah.
from where we started to where tourism is now. Totally
What do you
different.
think was like a big factor in getting, because that's a huge jump
Yeah.
in the span of, well, when did you start at GTA?
I was just out of university. That had to be like, wow, 2000 and something. I can't
Okay.
remember exactly.
So let's say maybe over 10 years.
Well, actually, I could probably give you a good average because my daughter wasn't born yet, and she's 14.
Oh, okay.
So when I left the GTA, I probably got her 3 years after. Yeah,
Okay.
about 3 years
Let's
after.
call it 14 years.
Yeah,
then.
about 14
Yeah.
years, yes.
We don't want to reveal anybody's age or anything, any sensitive information. No, but so fine. So 14 years, but that's
Yeah.
from nothing to something very
Yes.
big now is a huge jump. Granted, okay, our economy has been boosted a bit, which helps, through the development and oil and stuff. But it wasn't. We actually gained some steam a while ago, and since I moved back,
Yeah.
maybe like about 6-7 years ago, I feel like since I've been back, there's been an even bigger jump as well. But yeah, what do you, in your opinion, like what do you think is like one of the more crucial factors? I would say that, like, the push behind ecotourism has been a big thing. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, definitely. People are more sensitized as to, why they need to. People are more conscious and they want to be a part of the whole Save the Earth campaign and sustainability. And, all of that has a big impact had a big impact on where Guyana was to where we are now. Because of the fact that people want to be involved and want to be a part of something that they feel is bigger than them, which is preserving the earth for the next generation. That definitely helped because Guyana is actually a gem. You know, we like to use the word untouched gem and pristine rainforest and stuff. And people who are interested in that, in conservation and interested in both of I like to connect the two because once you have a love for ecotourism and birding and all of that, naturally you want to protect it. So the two work hand in hand. And that definitely I agree with you because they're always looking for the next destination that is big on conservation. Guyana just came up on the radar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that had a big impact on it, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And we do have a very unique product. This is a question that, it's not really your, I just kind of wanted your views on it because being in someone who has worked and has started my career in the tourism industry from a different, more
Yeah.
of a filming perspective, but I've always sort of it's hard for me to reconcile ecotourism with tourism being a huge part of our economy. And this is why. I just think that like with ecotourism, obviously, like you said, it's a lot of conservation and preservation of stuff, right? One is the market, and we're going back to Guyanese being able to see Guyana, right?
Right.
The market itself isn't because of the nature of travel and it's quite expensive. Many Guyanese aren't able to see all these things, which look, I think they should, but I don't know if it's somebody else's responsibility to make sure that they do.
Right.
It's just an unfortunate situation. I'm not sure how to deal with it, and I don't expect you to know either. But I've always felt that, aside from that, like even if we have a ton of tourism for the like eco lodges, let's say, is it enough to drive our tourism economy if we're just banking on ecotourism?
100% no.
Yeah.
If we're just banking on ecotourism, no, because, and I always say this, ecotourism and mass tourism are different. You can't. The two cannot exist together. We can't have 1 million people coming into our eco lodges. It's just not possible. I mean, well, it's possible, but it's not good.
It wouldn't
It's
be
not,
eco
It wouldn't be
anymore.
eco anymore. The lodge, everything will change in terms of, and not change in a good way. Because in order for you to build out more accommodation and more everything to cater for tourists, it will affect the environment. That is a fact, right? Even if we figure out how to do it in a sustainable way, once it becomes mass tourism, you can't. The two can't exist. So to answer your question, can eco and ecotourism be sustainable for the economy? No. But that is why we have to think about tourism differently, right? So yes, Guyana is an ecotourism destination traditionally, which we need to keep it the way. I shouldn't say keep it the way it is because there's always room for improvement in terms of eco lodges and experiences that you can offer to people in the areas. But for the most part, it wouldn't change drastically. You will still want those authentic experiences in our eco destinations, eco locations. But with regards to tourism being a significant economic, have a significant economic impact, what we would want is to do different types of tourism, not necessarily in those areas, but different places. Now, what we have to figure out, what we have to think about is the fact that people come to your destination for experiences. So, and not the way that Guyana is going, all of them are not coming anymore for eco experiences.
Yeah.
So we will always attract our eco tourists because they're very specific and they take time to
Yeah.
plan and do research. They know where
Birders,
they're
the
going.
fishers, those
They know,
enthusiasts.
yes, they know what they want to see and do and stuff. We will continue to do that. But we cannot ignore the fact that we also have a different tourism profile now. So we have the business traveler who are coming here for very specific business related activities. And how do we get them to spend money here? Because that is tourism, but it's a different kind of tourism and it can contribute to the economy. So when the business traveler comes here, they have to stay somewhere, they have to eat, They will need business services. They will need transportation. In some cases, dry cleaning, clothing. They got to go to a salon maybe if they're attending an event. Maybe some of them are holding an event.
Yeah.
So they need conference facilities. They need secretarial services. All of those things contribute to the economy, but in a different way, right? That's one type of profile. The second type is persons who are supporting oil and gas industry, right? So they're here not necessarily coming for a weekend, but they're coming for extended period, 6 months, 1 year. They're also a type of tourist in your country. So we have to create experiences that are different from eco experiences to cater for them to spend their money. So that's where entertainment comes in, events comes in. They
Yeah.
want things to do on the weekend. They have their wives are coming with them, their kids are coming with them. So they want stuff to do. So that's where things like clubs come in. If they can join the scouts, they can do archery, golfing, they can go to a pub,
Yeah.
right? Because one of the things with expats is like any other country in the world, when you migrate, you sort of tend to transition to your own people, to where they hang out,
Yeah.
right? So if they're, for example, a lot of people go to very specific places in town, in Georgetown, for example, who are expats because other expats are there.
Yeah.
So if you sort of do research and figure out, okay, what do expats like to do? And you open a restaurant or a club that caters, or a pub that caters to that, then they're going to go there and spend their money.
Yeah.
Right? Things like souvenirs. A lot of travelers, even outside of eco travelers, they like to wear local. So they like local jewelry, local clothing. So the way we think about tourism has to change as Guyana changes. So yes, our eco is going to be preserved. We're going to continue to cater for the ecotourism market, but we also have to cater for these new tourism profiles
Yeah.
that are coming.
For sure. And going back to, the earlier you spoke about, giving your kids those experiences. I actually had somebody on the on the podcast yesterday, and we were talking about business, and, the conversation came up about alcohol, and if somebody were to bring out a new beer, like a craft beer,
Yeah.
Could they go straight into the distribution market and compete with banks and Stag? And probably not, because those are big companies.
Yeah.
But what they can do is, if they had a brewery, for example, you open up like a craft brewery where you go to that brewery and there's a nice lounge and you sit down and have these craft beers.
Exactly.
And that's, you attach your product with an experience.
Definitely.
Because so many people here, especially, and you can capitalize on the local market too, because so many people here are dying for experiences. For me and my wife, I can't tell you how much times we lament not being able to, like, oh, let's go and try this restaurant today. Let's go and, because we love to go out to eat.
Right.
And my personal favorite is Hot Pot and Brazilian, because they're very consistent.
Yeah.
But I wish there were more options, and, I think that's part of what we can capitalize on, because it would be great for tourism as well. And it's unfortunate that maybe people, and it's going to change for sure with the next generation coming, but, just people who haven't had the privilege to travel and see what they can bring to Guyana, we kind of stuck with very similar things. Sure, there might be some
agree.
small differences, but,
Yeah.
It's similar things. And you of all people could probably attest to this, because, and I don't know how you do it, but you guys have probably done the whole restaurant circuit like a million times.
Yeah, well, this is what I will tell you now. So, Visit Guyana started pretty much as a passion project for me, right? It started because I wanted to show people outside of Guyana what Guyana had to offer. So I was actually living outside of Guyana, and people's perspective of Guyana was not positive, because once they hit Google, that was it, right?
was it
Joe and
crime?
Stung.
Oh,
Joe and Stung
Stung.
on crime, right? Joe and
Form
Stung
of
crime.
crime.
So this guy actually, his words to me was, oh, he didn't know Guyana had anything, that all he thought about when he thought about Guyana was bush and bandits, right? So that's why we started Visit Guyana. It was to change that whole perspective and show people,
Yeah.
right, the experience. So taking it back around from then to now, that objective has not changed. It will always continue to be showcasing and educating Guyanese as well as non-Guyanese. This is what you can do here. Those questions I had 14 years ago at the GTA. Why? Who are coming? Why are they coming? What are they coming to do? Right? Those questions will always remain the same. And every year that comes and goes, we continuously ask ourselves those same questions. Now, what has changed, however, is the fact that we're doing promotion of Guyana. But when a visitor comes here, we have to ensure, because Guyana is now on the map, that the product matches the promotion. So while we may go and have the experience that we may see something that needs fixing, we may say, man, that's okay. As Guyanese, we will turn a blind eye to it. A tourist will not.
Yeah.
So it's things like safety, security, hygiene, all kinds of stuff. So what has happened, that has birthed a new project for us, which is an organization we created. It will be launched in 2024 called Tourism Stakeholders Guyana. So it goes back to the conversation we were having. How do you create new experiences for new tourism profiles? So the organization we create speak to that. So we are working with tourism stakeholders to sit and do a lot of analysis on their current product. Is it working? What's not working? How can we do gap analysis? How can we fix some of the problems? Collecting data on these new tourism profiles. How can you benefit from these people that are coming here with the services you're offering? So this is a totally different side of Visit Guyana. So all of the experience we would have gotten from running Visit Guyana, we're now using it to help tourism businesses to develop and grow.
If you don't mind me asking, is this information, do you plan to publish it, or the reason I'm asking that is, and again, I don't know if it's a business or if it's an organization. The reason I'm asking is because I'm thinking, we talk about how do you go after tourism opportunity, and you made a good point about, we ask who's coming, what are they coming for, when. I feel like if we're actually serious about pushing tourism, that information, the who, what, when, should be published. So like the whatever institution is logging people coming into the country, we should kind of have an idea of, because you fill this out in the immigration form, right?
Right.
I'm coming from Indonesia, tourism on the immigration form.
Right.
It at least we know, okay, who's our market.
Yes.
And I feel like this kind of information isn't really public. So when I open up, maybe I open up in a Chinese restaurant, not a Chinese restaurant, but there are a ton of different people who don't come in that don't like Chinese food. So I'm not really, so with regards to tourism stakeholders, like how does that influence the grander product of tourism? Because I'm assuming not every business associated with tourism will be a part of it right away, for example.
Well, it's a membership organization.
Okay.
So we're only a month old, but we have about 40 members. Now, we work with our member. Anybody's free to come on board if you want to. Just reach out. But of course, all of the information that we collect and all of the information that we have to work with organizations to do this sort of data analysis and collection. We can't do it alone. So all of this is collaboration, and that is one of the things I want to stress to people in tourism. One of the core things that tourism stakeholders Guyana is built on is to promote collaboration. It is important as an industry for us to work together because we're a small country, right? We're big in resources, we're big in all kinds of stuff, but we don't have a lot of people. So in order for us to achieve our objectives and sustain it, we have to collaborate. So if you have a strength and I have a strength, we have to come together. And that's why we created the organization, because we don't have all the answers. But our stakeholders have different strengths. So we have to come together, pool those strengths and come up with solutions.
Yeah.
To directly answer your question, the information we gather along our way, we will share it, right? That's one of the things, even on Visit Guyana, when we take photos, videos, whatever, actually Chris wants to create, that's one of the things he wants to do. It's to create a photo database and put all our pictures in it and put it public so anybody can use it. Because we literally have collected thousands of photos over the year.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with it? by holding it to ourselves. There's no benefit to it.
Yeah.
So the younger tour operators that are coming up, even the older ones, they don't have the time to go out and do content. So we're just gonna give it to them.
Yeah.
But again, the data collection has been a problem for a long time. We're working with, like I said, we're only a month old, but we are working to find solutions that will inspire our tourism stakeholders, members, and anybody in tourism of the value of information collection and the fact that you can use it to make informed decisions.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things you mentioned, which is why I brought it up, is your friend and the craft beer. Those are the kinds of inspiring stories that we want to share with our members. So what we have started to do is we've started to travel outside of Guyana a lot. Now, it's one thing for you to promote your country. You have to be in a country to promote it. But to develop it, you cannot.
Yeah.
To develop it, you have to leave and collect best practices and come back.
Definitely.
You have to network with the people who you want to come here, because the whole idea is to bring people to our shores. So how do I bring people to my shores? I have to step out of Guyana, network with the people outside of Guyana to make that happen. And we spoke a bit about this with regards to filming and stuff. We want them to come and film, but you have to put policies in place also to protect your country, protect
Definitely.
our resources.
Definitely.
So that's where the policy side of things comes in, and that's why we created TSG, because Visit Guyana is about promotion, but TSG is about creating policies, doing research, coming up with reports that we can give to the industry to say, okay, these are our findings. These are experiences that you guys, these are experiences that non-ecotourism tourists want. How can we work with you to develop these experiences? If you're a tour operator, as opposed to doing an Essequibo River tour, how can we adjust that tour to appeal to children, for example? How can we do a sunset tour and adjust it a bit to appeal to people who like fishing, or people, or somebody's wife, or like a group of women,
Or the elderly or
right?
something.
How can we attract like women-only tours?
Yeah.
So that's the type of thing we're doing. To exactly what you said to your friend, you have to create experiences that are different, because all of us, including the ones living here, Guyanese living here, dying for stuff to do.
Yeah. Especially like niche. There's so many niche markets to go
Yes,
after.
and I'm so glad you mentioned it, because I was just gonna say my own kids, Gen Zers, are bored out of the mind, and the reason is
Yeah.
we cannot ignore it. TikTok is here.
Man, I can't even.
Listen.
Yeah. Just to pause you quickly, I can't even wrap my head around TikTok, which is bad because I'm in that space. But I
Oh my
almost
goodness.
refuse to learn it because I can't
I-
bring myself to get on another app. It makes
Listen.
me sick.
Me too. I am there because I wanted to learn,
Yeah.
to see.
But you got to know what your kids looking at. of
Yes,
course.
and what they're looking at. But I wanted to see, okay, what appealing to these kids? So I started to put up my own VG content, and that was not it.
No.
These people they don't care. They don't care. I could put up a TikTok about how to make cassava bread. They don't care. What they want, what appeals to these people, these TikTokers, is something totally different, right? They want, it's the stories. They want to be talked to, right? In 30 seconds, they want you to talk to them. So that's the generation we can't ignore. Gen Z, and the reason is, in the past we would think about Gen Z and Gen X and all of these people as they ain't spending no money, so I don't care. But they are.
Yeah.
And the reason they are, it's because my grandparents' generation, they had nothing. But what they did, they worked and they built and to give their kids more.
Yeah.
And their kids studied overseas, came back to give their kids more, right? And that is what is happening. So as our economy grew, spending power increased. Children, even young people at 14, 15, 16, they are spending money.
Yeah.
Right? They want experiences. They're the ones going to the cafes and all of these things.
I mean, it's
Right?
a different time.
It's a different time.
And as well, you got to look at it as we're how our economy has developed as well, and so you in present day where kids have this disposable income and this connectivity.
Correct.
And to your point, it's kind of scary how with that you wanting that 30-second hit, and that's the attention span these days.
Oh my
I mean,
goodness.
I feel it as a 31-year-old man. I feel it myself. Like I'm like, it's like I need, like, I don't know why my brain is now wired to kind of look at this, and if I ain't getting it by however next.
Yes.
So I imagine how hard it's shaping kids.
Right. And there's one thing I want to add. Okay, TikTok might be the 30-second for Gen Zers, but everybody watching TikTok, even
Yeah.
people in your age range, my age range.
Sure, yeah.
But that has to be the hook.
Yeah.
So the hook has got to be, okay, the 30-second, but go on my YouTube channel for the older folks and you will see everything. And that
Yeah.
is what that's what it is.
I'm so glad for those who haven't really caught on, you being a digital marketing expert. I like that because, again, I was having this conversation yesterday about, using social media to push business and ads and blah, blah, blah. It's like you need to use that short-term thing to push
Yeah.
the bigger product.
Yeah.
And that's something I kind of have to get on to as well. Because, it's all connected.
It's all connected. Yeah. This generation, they're the ones who, in the past, we brush side advertising. But this generation, they have learned to do subtle advertising. That's what I like to call it. So if they're in a coffee shop and they film in the scone or whatever it is, and they put it up, oh yeah, I'm at this place. Their friends, for us, we're like, oh Jesus, scone. But their generation, we're like, oh, this place look hip, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not, for them, it's not about the scone. For them, it's about, can I take an Instagram
It's
here?
about the vibe.
Was the vibe, right? And that's their hook for
Yeah.
us. So we got to figure out storytelling in that way, how to appeal to them and how to, okay, you want to learn to make this go on my YouTube channel. That's what it is, right? And it's insane. The thing is, I was at World Travel Market and I went to this workshop that they had on filming, right? Because I think Guyana is such an amazing location and destination for filming. So I went to it, and all of the persons on the panel, all of them are very seasoned filmmakers, and from all these networks around the world. And that question came up to them. It was, okay, everybody wants short form videos. How are you guys managing in this climate where it's just information is being consumed so fast? So within 20 minutes of you putting on content, it's consumed and they're on to the next thing. And that's one of the points they made is, okay, exactly what we just said. That's the hook. But long form video for people who are serious travelers, for example, and people who are looking for deep experiences, and they're looking to connect with the destination and not just be a visitor in a country for a one time, let me strike this off my list. They're coming to your country because they actually care about having a lifelong memory and connection. They're going to go to YouTube. They're going to watch the documentaries. That will never change. And it's true.
Yeah.
So what they have figured out is you have to marry the two, right? So you have to marry the two in that the hooks that you're creating, it has to be engaging and similar to short form, but enough storytelling in it to make people go to YouTube to watch it. So they showed some clips and, it's diving into the river and it's showing all these things that Gen Z would
Exciting
want.
stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
but
the explosions and the
yes, just enough to make you want more.
Yeah.
But I agree with them 100%, and statistics have shown it. And as much as short form video, it's there and it's going nowhere, it's going to grow. It's actually given birth to YouTube becoming more popular.
Yeah.
Because that deepness and the connections that people are looking for, especially coming out of COVID, people will go watch those videos, those documentaries.
Yeah.
So I can do the cassava bread, a short 30-second clip, but the two things that will inspire people to do is, one, go have the experience, and also to learn more about the experience. That's where you guys come in with your documentaries, because you're not only showing the process in your documentary, you're showing the community. You're telling the story behind the person making it.
Yeah.
Right? So
There's a lot more nuance and long
yes,
form.
exactly, the long form.
Yeah.
You're telling the story behind the tools
Mm-hmm.
that you're using to make it, showing the weaving process of the matapi. And that is what they will go to YouTube and stuff to watch.
Yeah.
Or go to Netflix.
Yeah. I could talk about TikTok and strategies all day, but I wanna just shift gears for a moment and talk about something that so what's really like unique about you, to me at least, is that you've managed to sort of dominate this space. Forget tourism. I'm talking about like digital marketing in a country with very weak copyright laws, which is usually a problem to do well in digital marketing or in this space. And you've turned it into, I know you do other things as well, but for the most part you've turned it into a career. And I kind of was wondering, how like what are like, and I'm saying this because you've paved the way, you and Chris have paved the way for other people, especially in tourism, to go after the same sort of livelihood and business in a way. But how have you managed to, and you don't have to go into details of your finances. I know Chris's net worth is pretty high, so I don't wanna expose anybody, but I'm curious as to know how have you sort of found your markets within this digital marketing space and been able to do it as something that is financially feasible. Because you did mention as well that you guys sort of have all your pictures and content out there for people to
Yeah.
use and whatnot. And while we appreciate you doing stuff like that out of the kindness of your heart, I mean, you can't. I would never. I'll do that too, but I would never do that. Right off the bat or
Yeah,
forever.
yeah.
And we have to think. Real Guyana as well thinks about different ways of monetizing. We really get creative with it. But like, what's like your strategy with approaching that? Is it a lot of private sector investment? I know that like, because you do well on social media, I know it's hard for Guyana to monetize directly from these platforms
Yeah.
because of our financial
banking
systems.
system,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
So how would you sort of advise people going about, if they wanted to, or what are the shortcomings rather
Yeah.
of doing that or being able to do that?
That's actually a pretty good question. So I'll answer it in two ways. The first thing is there's a difference between creators and influencers, and this is something I wanna let people understand. And sort of the reason why is because people think they're one and the same, right? A creator and a content creator and an influencer is the same thing. It's not. You can be an influencer without being a creator. You could hire a content creator, for example. And it's just because you've amassed this big platform because of a reason. People follow people for a reason. So people might follow somebody because they were dancing on TikTok, but they have evolved their page to a point where they hired a content creator and figured out how to use the dancing in creative ways to sell a product. So that's one side of it. A lot of their objective is getting endorsements and brand deals and stuff like that. For creators like yourself who do documentary work and you do filming, and people who may be doing music and mixing behind the scenes and all of that, trying to figure out how to use digital marketing as a means of an income, that's what I'll address. Now, I can be honest with people who are listening. You cannot go in it with the objective of making money, right? For 9.5 years, Visit Guyana made $0. No money. We never charged anybody a fee. We never did nothing. We still don't, right? It depends on the business. If you're an indigenous community and stuff, but for the most part, we didn't for 9.5 years. In the last couple of years, we have monetized Visit Guyana, but in a different way because, as you correctly said, our banking system is not set up to benefit from hits on social media.
Just to clarify for people, meaning that
Yes.
YouTube and Facebook can't pay you
Pay you.
directly for your
Correct.
engagement.
Yeah. So we've never gotten any payment from the platform itself. We've never set that up. So we don't, and because of our banking system, we haven't. So we don't get paid from Facebook. how we make money to sustain the page, we've always used our own money from our marketing company to sustain it for many years. So it was self-funded. The last 2.5 years, going into 3 now, we have monetized it, but we have monetized it with private sector.
Yeah.
So we do have sponsors on the page. We do have advertisers on the page. But again, we're very picky with, we can put a lot of ads on, like video ads and stuff for people. People approach us all the time. But to keep the integrity of the page
Yeah.
and the objective of what we set out to do, we have to be picky.
You want to be pushing ads all
No,
day.
so that is something I want to caution people about as well.
Yeah.
If you have a platform, it is not about the brand. You have to focus on your objective, right? So not because people are coming to you, anybody, you just say, "Oh, I'm making 100,000 here. Let me take it." No,
Yeah.
there are many companies that we have politely declined and walked away from because we have to be careful. Not only the type of content we're putting out, but how many times a day the person wants us to post,
Yeah.
right, for payment.
No,
So
for sure.
once a person wants X amount of posts, and we know here what, you know what, our page is gonna look like your brand,
Yeah.
as opposed to what we're doing, we're gonna lose followers.
So let me
can't.
cut you there a second, and I like that point because I've seen pages who, have gotten steam real fast, and then they move to they've got, I want to say, hit the lottery with sponsorship, which is fine,
Yeah.
good for them.
Yeah,
But then the content is now lost in the
Yeah.
ads. People still tune in to, like, I guess because lives you get notifications or whatnot,
yeah,
but content on a whole is sort of is on the back burner, and then you're just flooded with ads, and that really ruins the optics of the page.
Correct.
And I actually don't know. Another thing I was speaking about with my friend yesterday is, it's hard to, because the financial system is not really connected with your ads here, it's hard to really gauge how effective those ads are,
Yeah.
even if you have a massive following.
Yeah.
Because views don't really mean anything if people ain't buying nothing.
correct.
But yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think it's nothing personal. It's just business. And
Yeah.
You really have to keep the integrity of your page. Visit Guyana couldn't turn into, like, if I was pumping ads on Visit Guyana all day, people would think Visit Guyana is real Guyana. It wouldn't make sense.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Again, to persons who, if persons are interested in coming in the digital marketing space and they're interested in working with brands and stuff, again, they have to understand there's a difference between an influencer and a content creator. So people like to say, "Oh, you're an influencer," whatever, but that was never my objective. I didn't even know what that was or cared,
Yeah.
right? I do recognize now that I have to care now, because once you acknowledge the fact that you have people watching you, you have to sit and make a conscious decision of, okay, what is it? Okay, you're watching me. You got to be watching me for a reason. What is my message going to be to the person watching? Is it going to be something positive or something negative?
Yeah.
So with regards to Visit Guyana, it is always to show an experience.
Yeah.
Because, and that's one of the reasons I think Visit Guyana had a lot of appeal to persons overseas, and our following actually grew largely from persons outside of Guyana. And it is because an overseas person will not trust an experience, right? Unless they see you do it. So for example, if I do a photo of Kaichur Falls, a person who's thinking of spending their money to come here will want to see the trek to Kaichur. They will want to see the hike there. They will want me to tell the story
Yeah.
behind it. The stuff that you see along the way, the cock of the rock, what exactly is a
They
cock
want
of
the
rock.
real life
So
testimonial.
they want the testimonial, right? So that is, I think, where the influence thing came about, because persons started to resonate the page with me.
Yeah.
So when we go places, "Oh, Stacey, you inspired me to come," right? "Oh, after 40 years, I saw you eating a mango, and this a mango make me come." So that's the feedback we get on the page, and we understood. That's when I started to realize, okay, you know what? This is an impact you're making, because once one video can make somebody come to Guyana, there's a ripple effect, right?
Right.
From the time you hit the airport, a tour operator may benefit. A taxi driver may benefit. A restaurant may benefit. A hotel may benefit, right? So all from one person coming here, the economic value is great. From imagine we get people messaging us that say 25 of our family came back because of your page. We would never have come.
Yeah.
People have messaged us and said we had 15 people to go into Rockview. I didn't even know my country was that beautiful. Second, third generation Guyanese who've never come to Guyana before, but their parents are Guyanese. We have them messaging us saying, my father said that he grew up in Essequibo, but he never see this place. I wanted to come and see it. So they're bringing the girlfriend, the fiance, their own non-Guyanese family to come now to Guyana to see it because they've seen the experience on the page. The indigenous experiences, the farine making, they want to do it,
Yeah.
right? So that's my final message is you have to think about impact before you think about money. I know your question was,
No, you've answered it
but
brilliantly.
the money is important. Don't let me get
Yeah.
you wrong, because to sustain anything, you have to make money.
I think you'd have to be an idiot to think that people would do this out of the kindness of their heart and just to push tourism. Not to say that you aren't doing that,
No,
by
I
the way.
get it.
But I mean, it's like, well, these things cost money to
Of
do.
course.
And it's just, but look, like we're not here to split hairs with people who are ignorant or willfully so. But that being said, because you brought it up, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but just for the clickbait and the fascination on this topic of
Yeah.
influencer.
Right.
I know that, and by the way, I like how you are conscious enough to reflect on that and how that falls into your business strategy, because it makes sense, right? Like the reality is people wouldn't be watching if you didn't actually show it.
Yeah.
But you have this mass following. You are the face of your company, and for good reason, and referred to as an influencer. And I know, like most other influencers on social media, you could be a target to a lot of BS.
Yeah.
And but I'm a lurker on social media. I don't really contribute for that very same reason.
Right.
With that and a lot of other things, because it's just you can't really have discourse on social media in a lot of regards. You can, but you can't. And I guess like I want to know, how have you been able to, because that must take a toll on you. I feel like you kind of you don't just do it and then just ignore the comments or whatever. It as much as I'm sure you definitely push in that direction, it's hard to not be affected in some way or process it in a way that is productive to your ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Because not everybody understands the business behind it. People just see, oh well, this is just an attention thing. No,
Yeah.
but you can't force people to understand that. If they're willfully ignorant, there's no really winning that argument. So how do you really manage that?
I get that question a lot, and it's two-tiered. And the thing is, I have learned to separate my visit Guyana life from my personal life, right? So although people think they see a lot of my life, they really don't. It's less than 2%, right? They don't see me with my kids, and so I keep that at a minimum. And I know that I can use not use, but a lot of people use it for hits. They like to do that, like the whole invasive into my life thing. But I chose not to, because those things get a lot of hits. Once you're a public figure, people want to know, right? They're just obsessed with the fact of knowing everything about your life. But I didn't want to go that route, right? Your personal life is your personal life. So in terms of that, a lot of what people think they know me on social media, but they really don't. That's part of me, that 2% that I choose to put out there. And I think because people think they know you, they feel like, and social media has allowed persons to be able to say whatever they want without boundaries, right? That's what it has caused, but that's fine, right? And of course, they use the fact that freedom of speech. as the excuse, which again, that's you're entitled to use your time and energy to decide what you want to put out into the universe. That's you.
However, freedom of speech is a very convenient thing to say when you can't say it to someone's
When you
face,
can't say
right?
it to, right. And this is the point I'm making. Now, although you feel you know me, you don't, because I don't know you. On the other side of the screen, you know me because of my page. But to me, you're a stranger. So what you have to ask yourself is, and somebody asked me that recently, and my response to her was this. I said, if you never met me before and you don't know my name, you don't know anything about me, and I was talking something negative about you, would you care? And her response was, no, I don't know you. And that is what a lot of public figures, the reason that they can go on with their lives is because of that. I don't know you. To you, I'm not a stranger. But from on my side, you're a stranger. So because you're a stranger, I don't know you. You don't exist, right? And therefore your opinion, I can either allow the opinion of somebody that I don't know to impact me, or I can say, you know what, if that is the energy you choose to put out there, that's you have to deal with that. But I don't. Because I am responsible for my reaction to it. There are exceptions. If you're disrespected by somebody, you have a right, depending on who it is. Not everybody, because you can't take on the whole internet.
Sure. It's a losing battle.
Right. But if you feel disrespected offline, you can deal with it. You can say to a person, you know what, I do not appreciate how your reaction or your behavior, or how you choose to represent me. And that is what I've always done. If it's somebody I know or somebody has that's what I've done. I've always dealt with it. And again, depending on the person, I choose not to waste my energy on too many people.
Yeah, it's just interesting that it positivity on a whole is never as as fun, or as stimulating
Right.
for people. It's a human. I think
It's
it's
a
like
human thing. And the thing is, social media, I think a lot of people they like the controversy, right?
Yeah, sure.
Controversy gives you hits.
it's doom scrolling.
It is, and
kinda,
it will never go away. So young creatives that are coming up and may want to go on social media and stuff like that, put yourself out there. I'll be working with 3 of them in 2024. They get they've asked me the same thing, right? Oh, people commenting these things. And this is what I said to them. I said, they will continue and it will become worse. I said, the more you become popular, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing. Once you love it, and it is something that, I believe all of us we have a purpose. From the day we're born, even before, you're not here to take up space as a human being. And this is, we are a little away from tourism and stuff, but still, we're not here to just take up space. All of us have a divine purpose and a talent and a strength. And we should not waste our time on noise. What we are here for is to do the best that we can to add some little value to this world in some way. If your calling is to bake bread, do it.
Yeah.
Right? If your calling is to plant bhaji or okra, whatever it is, do it. Whatever it is fulfilling to your soul. Once it is not destructive, pursue it with passion, with the enthusiasm, with passion, take the criticism even, right? Because there are people who make constructive criticism. There are people, their intent is good. Not everybody is coming with negative criticism. There are people who come with good criticism.
Yeah.
Take that. Make yourself better. Read, learn, interact with new cultures. And it is all about using your space that you're given on this earth that people, there are people who have all kinds of illnesses and stuff that don't get the opportunity. If once you have it, use it. Don't waste it.
Yeah.
Follow your passion follow your heart with every piece of passion you have in you so that you're fulfilled.
For sure.
That's what I would say.
I
Don't
love
be
it.
afraid.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And for young people, there's so much all these resources that we use for these maybe silly things, there's so much room to like grow and learn, and the internet is such a resource too.
Oh
I mean,
man,
YouTube University is next level.
of course.
But yeah, I like what you said, and to your statement, please don't feel like you're here to just talk about tourism. That's not why I invited you.
No,
But I'm glad we
yeah.
could talk.
Good.
Just building on the whole influencer thing and film and creators, I've noticed that you're now, or you have been, collaborating with a lot of high profile influencers. I know you've done some work with David's been here,
Yeah.
who actually I've now been put on to him, and I'm like, this man actually doing some real cool stuff, you know. Like he went, I saw him go do the KFC thing in Trinidad,
Right.
and stuff like that. But working with influencers, how does that fit into your strategy? And like, you know, is it what's that collaboration like, or how do influencers like yourself
Yeah.
find themselves in that space where they're now collaborating beyond borders? How does that happen for you in that space?
Well, it happens in numerous ways. Most of the collabs we've done is people who reached out to us to do those collabs. So that started us sort of having to, Chris and I had to sit down and figure out, okay, how do we explore these collaborations? Because at the end of the day, it's important for us to do so, to tap into their networks,
Sure.
right? Once we feel, and again, we're very careful who we collab with. This year, we haven't done a lot of collab because we were building a framework. So all of the people that reached out to us, we told them, we said next year, because we had to build a framework coming out of our experiences from David and other persons we've collabed with. Again, at the end of the day, this is your destination, and there are different kinds of influences. There are influences that want to come in and 24 hours. There are to tick off a country, and then
Yeah.
there are influencers like David that actually want to
I want to do
delve a
meaningful
little,
stuff.
yeah, meaningful stuff. And then there are also influencers that do not want any guidance at all. They will come and film as they see. So whether the story is negative or positive, they just do it,
Yeah.
right? So you always have to be careful of how that.
I just want to pause you there.
Yeah.
Because before I forget, or we move on, do you think influencers coming in to a country to that point have a responsibility to, should they, I'm just using you as an example
Yeah.
because you're the person, right?
Yeah.
Should they connect with someone like you or a GTA, you know, before they create their narrative on a country, or are they at free reins to give their opinion, you know, with their massive following?
I think both has benefit in terms of if you are an influencer who's gonna come to do authentic content the way you see it, and you don't want to connect with anybody, tourism board, Visit Guyana, nobody. You just want to come in and give your authentic story, then you have to be true to that. And what I mean by that is don't do it for clickbait.
Yeah.
There's still people who they will consciously or unconsciously look for the worst things because they know it will give them hits,
Yeah.
right? So they will just give an overall impression of negativity for hits, right? What you are is not an authentic nothing. That's what I would say. So that's why we have to build out a framework to sort of vet people, not because you have 1 million followers, I'm automatically going to collab with you. No.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I still have to examine your content, and I still have to figure out what type of content you're creating. Is it telling a story, and is it telling a true one? So in terms of, and again, that's what it boils down to. It boils down to, yes, we have to tap into the networks of people who have a large following, but not necessarily a large following, because because we're eco, there are also influencers that may not have 1 million followers, but they have the right followers.
Yeah.
And this is another thing I caution people, because 1 million followers don't mean it's 1 million followers that we want to tap into, right? 1 million followers none of them may not be interested in Guyana. So we have to also examine who's following you to figure that out. So at the end of the day, that's the framework we created, is to figure out, okay, who do we want to collaborate with? What does that collab look like? Because at the end of the day, a lot of influencers do inbox because they're looking to be comped.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
Comped, you mean?
Free accommodation,
right,
free to check
yeah.
off your list.
Yeah. It's a big
It's
stereotype on
yes.
influencers.
So all of that we have to vet and figure out. What does this? Who are you as an influencer? What your content looks like? Who's you following? How much will we have to spend to accommodate you here? Because influencers don't come for free, right? So all of that we have to figure. Are we going to get a return on investment for our country? Because at the end of the day, while Visit Guyana, we're private sector, we still have to consider the image and the impact it's going to have on our destination holistically and the stakeholders that reside in it.
Yeah.
So influencer marketing is a little slippery slope. It's not any Tom, Dick, and Larry you can collab with. So that's why for 2023, we haven't done any because we were building out a framework to figure out how does this work. And again, the reason we had to do this is so that we can share it with other people who are interested in such collabs. Because it is important for us to do that, to tap into those markets. So it's not something I would say to people shy away from. No, do it. But ensure that at the end of the day, it is mutually beneficial in a positive way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I like that. And, you know, vetting and so is useful because you don't want to associate your brand with someone teetering on the edge and they go tank their reputation. At some
Yes,
point
and
then-
David, if you speak to David, he will tell you I'm very particular, especially if you go into indigenous communities, right? I have a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Like don't film children,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
because they're bathing in the creek.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah.
these are
yeah.
people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We actually, and I will say we kind of when we started as amateurs, we were not reckless, but I feel like being more seasoned now, I didn't think about a lot of these things. So
Same.
when I go in, Vicky and I have this conversation all the time. No filming, no kids,
Yeah.
unless they're with their parents
Of
or
course.
they're part of the organizational
Yeah.
job or whatever we have. And then most of the times they sign release forms, whatever. And we really take those things for granted, because,
Yes.
and I think, sorry to branch a little bit, but I think that comes down to a lack of IP infrastructure and just the infrastructure of how we produce art and stuff like that, where you think everything's a free for all.
Yeah.
And there's a big thing right now with Dave, Dave Martins and his music, and people think because they brought up the issue of copyright, it's like, oh, nobody could sing the song or whatever, but that's not it.
Yeah.
It's that I can't take the song and have it as a Visit Guyana or Real Guyana ad, and I'm
Yeah.
making money.
Right. That's
without-
that's totally different.
And it
Yeah.
kind of it's sad to me that that point isn't made aware. It's more like, well, no, there's our song now.
No, I totally agree with you on this. And that's why conversations like these are important, especially if other creatives or potential creatives are watching this.
Yeah.
You can't just go and take somebody content and put like a little photo icon and put photo taken by without reaching out to that person first to ask.
Yeah.
And that is, even for us, that has, people just, we just at the point where we give up in terms of that until we have to work behind the scenes with persons like yourself and other people to get our copyrights in order. But it is not right for you to just take somebody real or somebody thing and put it on your page and just put a little icon and think that's credit you were given.
Yeah.
No, it's especially if you're making money from it. I completely agree with you on that. And for creatives who may be listening, this is something I want to 100% state here. Content creation, influencer marketing, being a creative, in whichever way you are, it is not just taking a camera and shooting something and throwing it on social media. It is not just taking somebody's content and putting it on your page because you realize it's a big hitter. That's not what it is. There's a lot of thought that has to go into what you're doing. You have to make a conscious effort to sit and ask yourself, what is it I'm doing here? Why am I doing it? And you have to be respectful when you're doing it. So a lot of people think content creation and creating a platform is an true thing, and it does what it is about. It is not about that. There's
Yeah.
so much more. And as a creator, I know you know this as a filmmaker. It's always and always and always a work that people put into creating a 1 hour, half hour, 20-second video. It's hours of work,
Yeah.
travel, sleepless nights,
Yeah.
right? For you to take somebody work. No.
A lot of mental fatigue, mental
Yeah.
teetering on mental illness sometimes in my case. I
Yes.
feel like I'm going crazy. But
Eh,
I to that point I've when you came to my last premiere, you and Chris, and that was a big event, and to me it was one of the best films I've ever made, and I put it on YouTube, which is a big forum for us, and within a couple weeks someone with a different channel used basically all the footage to make a video on Indians in Guyana. So they're saying Indians in Guyana. It's actually, and with the people, Amerindian
right,
people
our
in
Iranian
it,
people.
and the video has 3 to 5 times the amount of views that my film has. So, I mean, if I didn't, and again, shout out to Republic Bank. Every opportunity I get, I just want to, if they didn't sponsor our film and support it
Yeah.
with their financial contribution, to the whole initiative, I don't know what position I would have been in. I mean, at this point, I'm like, you know what, screw it. There's not much I can do. Because
Yeah.
Vicky and I have filed a report to YouTube,
Yeah.
which is also not a headache you got to go
That is a
through. Because they
stress.
give the robbers the benefit of the doubt. Because
I
I could
know.
always go report your stuff if I
Yeah.
don't like you or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's really hard, and it's just something we got to think about. But but with regards to actually using somebody's thing, even if I wanted to use your thing, and I've learned this as well, is that okay, a verbal agreement is one thing, a WhatsApp or a messenger is another thing. At least that's in writing.
Yeah.
But if you know you're using it to make money, then why not just do a contract? Because the ways of making money is so nuanced with content.
Yeah.
Is that a simple contract can at least outline certain things. And by the way, if I'm using your stuff, it's not like you can come and police everything I do anyway.
Yeah.
But at least a fair transaction or agreement was made.
Right.
So I think it's stuff that we got to keep talking about and discuss and
Yeah.
blah blah blah.
No, contracts are super important. Even with regards to, we just spoke about influencer marketing and stuff, you have to put contracts in place. We have been, even with local creators and stuff we've tried to work with, we've been burnt a lot because we didn't have a contract.
Yeah.
And last year was the first year we started actually working with, if we see you have a following and a page and stuff, we try to give you the opportunity. So we've been taking young people with us on some of our trips that we go on, so that they can have the experience and they can have the ability to create their own content. Because we didn't have contracts with a lot of them either posted the content or they never sent us the content, right? So it's things like this, like that made us realize, or they want to keep the content for themselves instead of collaborating,
Yeah.
right? Even though we funded the experience and the
These are
trip and stuff.
influencers.
These are, yes, local influencers, not international.
Gotcha.
So we have tried to work with local influencers, but again, I think, and I don't blame, that's why I'm hesitant to discuss it extensively, because they don't understand that,
Yeah.
right? And this is something I think culturally as Guyanese, we didn't really understand the power of collab. So we have a thing where we try to keep everything to ourselves, and part of that is because we weren't protected. We felt we weren't protected. Our information isn't protected.
Yeah.
Our proposals aren't protected, right? So we tend to hold a lot of stuff together. But what Chris and I have found over the years is that all of us are facing, especially in the creative industry, similar challenges. So there is more strength in us coming together to go to the powers that be to address these concerns and say to them, as Guyana continues to grow, these are real challenges that we're facing that has to be fixed, and it has to be fixed yesterday.
Yeah.
Because if we were to collaborate with international filmmakers and international influencers and all of these things, they're protected. We
Yeah.
are not, right? Even persons like myself who are public figures. Barbados recently adjusted their laws to include influencers and how they're protected, right, with regards to slander and all of that. These are all things we have to now change and or add in or and amend our policies at government level and stuff to protect our creatives. I agree with you 100%. Social media is an animal that ain't gonna go away. People, it
Can't
has
tame that.
it has become now a norm where we're seeing reaction videos, and that's just an excuse to use other people's content to get hits, right?
Yeah.
There's some that are good,
Yeah.
but there's some. I mean, a creator recently used a lot of content on my page to create a video again that got way more views than myself because his TikTok is registered in the US, which has an impact, right?
Yeah.
On your viewership. He did give us a shout out in the video, right? But what ended up happening is we were actually collaborating to do something because I recognize, you know what, they don't, our young creatives, they don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't understand certain things, but they're willing to learn.
Yeah.
So I reached out. Well, he reached out first, and I responded, and now we're collabing
Nice.
to do something,
Yeah.
right? And that way, I'll be able to guide him and say to him, okay, as a creative, if you really want to be sustainable, these are certain things you still have to adhere to as a creative.
Yeah.
You can't ignore just because you got following be a bully. You cannot.
For sure. Or at least say, if you respect me, and at least respect my work, then this is how I would like you to. And it's like
Exactly.
kind of like what we spoke about with the, people talking smack and then you letting them know how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that, yeah, if they want to use that, even if they want to use that against you, I mean, then there's no talking. Then
Right.
at least you've pursued that.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's important. At the end of the day, I know we're kind of running an
I
hour and a
know.
half, and this has been fantastic, by the way.
Right. Likewise.
But I would probably want to close with just asking you, if what's next for you and Chris and Visit Guyana, and I know you have your tourism stakeholders
Yeah.
project that you're working on, but what are you guys hoping to really achieve in the next year or two as it relates to tourism?
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, one last thing, and I'm just asking you this because it's topical. You're dealing with tourism and bringing people into the country, and that on some level that's an investment for your target market. But how do you reconcile that with our international issues with like the whole Venezuela situation? Not to get too deep into
Yeah,
that, but
yeah.
just I ask this to people in different industry, and I think tourism is a crucial one for that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, it's a legitimate question. I think all of us are sort of like in wait and see. We're not sure what information is real and what is not, and all of that. And it is a legitimate concern for visitors. We've had people reach out asking us, should I cancel my trips and all of these things. So it is a legitimate concern. I think how we're handling it is really just to not we're asking people not to play into too much of propaganda and stuff like that until the facts are presented.
Yeah.
That is the thing. And we at this point we ourselves don't have all of the facts. We know all the reasons in terms of everything that's being put out there, Venezuela and this and that, and we're showing our patriotism. But for a visitor, they don't care about that. So at the end of the day, it's just for us to, be realistic and say to them, you know what, we don't have all the facts right now, but as we get it, we will ensure that we pass it along to you. That's how we're handling that side of the situation. But we're trying not to peddle and add fuel to the fire and all of that with stuff, just for the sake of
Yeah.
it. In terms of what next for Visit Guyana, for 2023 has been a whole learning curve for me, right? Trying to understand the direction that social media is going into and how it relates to marketing for tourism. It is changing. It is transitioning because of reels and short form video, and there's more demand for that type of content. So for us, it has been trying to figure out what's next for us in terms of content creation and what that will look like for us in 2024 and building out a new strategy. So that's what we've been doing. In 2024, a lot of new types of content we will be showing, a lot of new faces too, because as I mentioned, this year I've done a lot of soul searching and stuff. And I think it's always important, and your mom will speak to this too, and other persons who really paved the way for us in this industry. There comes a time when you have to you have to transition, and you have to be inclusive of other young people who have an interest, but they're not quite sure you know, how to do it. So that what we'll be doing is a lot of collab with other persons, yourself included, to get their faces out there, their work out there. Because yes, we've created this platform, but I want to use it in a positive way. And you mentioned your YouTube video and all of that. These are discussions that I would love to have with yourself and other persons as to how we can work together to ensure that when you guys put all of this work and energy into creation, how can we collectively work together to get it out there? And that's where conversations like international influencers and stuff come in. That how can we collaborate with them to have them share your content, for example? So where we're going in 2024, to answer your question, that's what it is. A lot of collaboration, a lot of working together as a team to fix some of the issues that we face as creatives and in tourism both. Of course, educating the younger generation through our wildlife clubs and our tourism stakeholders to keep supporting what they're doing as a stakeholder ourselves. So that's the next step for us for Visit Guyana. So it's not just promotion alone; it's more than that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh yes.
that's
Sorry,
right.
Chris. Chris, just I forgot about that. Yeah. So as I mentioned to you guys quickly, events definitely it's another way to get for tourism to add value to the economy. So we're actually working on 3 different events. One of them will be launched next year, which is the Guyana Birding Festival. And we
Nice.
saw that as necessary because, again, and this is why feedback is so important and why we need to share this feedback, which we realize. But it was always Chris and I. That's why some of these things never get put on paper,
Yeah.
because it's just us. But a lot of people reach out to us for birding and they want to come. They don't quite know when to come and all of that. So a birding festival we felt was going to kill 2 birds with one stone, where birders can come in, get to know Guyana, and maybe come back again for other birding activities, and also to get our locals involved.
Yeah.
Because that's one side of tourism I think has been largely ignored over the years. Tourism is everybody business. We say it, but what does that mean? What does that look like? If we're bringing birders into our country to enjoy our birds, but our own local people don't know that, hey, people spending $17,000 to see a bird, why?
Yeah.
So we have to teach them, starting from the young people. So that's the objective with the birding festival. But we're also doing a
Just to
food.
jump in, no birds will be killed with any stones.
No. It's not that kind of bird.
I know.
Just for the people listening, we're doing a food and rum festival as well,
No, nice.
right? And
2 of my favorite things.
music and arts festival.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
again, all of these things, it's because we've been having so many discussions with young people and reaching out to people, because that was sort of like a thing that was like in my mind, right? And I will say this to you this is my personal comment I want to make to you guys. I have admired your work since you started as a young person, and just like your mom pioneered conservation, and I've said this to her too. The impact she's had is the ripple effect of it. It's years to come. That is what I think you guys are doing, right? And while, yes, some kind of a fledgling filming industry exists here, you guys have brought, I think, a finesse to it. You've brought a professionalism to the table. That is what our young people need to understand. The work ethic behind being a creative, the professionalism that goes behind it, the hard work to sustain it, the disappointments, all of these things will come. And I would love to have further conversations that we can post on social media so young people can understand you're behind the scenes. And even if you guys can capture some of that and post it for them to see, this is what goes into what I'm doing, right? So if you want to get into industries like this, it's not for the faint of heart, but you should if you want to, but you know, what you guys have been doing is amazing, and that's why, you know, we want to collaborate with you more in the future to see how we can develop this industry to where it needs to be in terms of filming and documentary making and storytelling and all of these things. And it is so vital for us to collaborate and to do it together. You know, and anybody else who's listening, it's important for you guys to understand the value of working together. It is very important for us to put our, you know, sometimes our own personal little nuances aside and look at the bigger picture of how it can be mutually beneficial to everybody when you work together. Yeah.
And on that note, Stacey, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Thank you to you and Chris. And we hope to see you again soon.
Likewise. And
Right.
thank you so much for having me. I totally enjoyed it. Thanks.
Absolutely. Me too.